Hello and welcome to another video. So I'm going to showcase Portal today, basically very similar to the anti-dragon Portal deck that I'd bought before with the entities. Basically that's the main anti-dragon card in the deck. The rest is actually a pretty stock standard Portal deck overall, and this is also the deck I took to the NGSAO rotation tournament, which I did moderate with, I would say. You know, I didn't do great, I didn't do bad necessarily. Overall, this wasn't really what held me back. What held me back is the fact that I came up against a lot of aggro decks, which my lineup really didn't deal with very effectively. Other than that though, this deck is still reasonably solid. I am definitely considering dropping the entities again though, because the current meta doesn't really warrant using entities. But at the moment, I've just left them because I haven't really decided how I want to restructure the deck completely yet. And I'm sure in another week's time or so, I will have completely restructured this deck into something a little more formative for what I want. So, hopefully you guys enjoy it, and we'll check out the games. Game 1 is against a Forest player. Forest always makes Portal a little bit of an interesting matchup, mainly based on the fact that Portal doesn't deal with Forest that well. Mostly brambles, but if you get a fairly good lineup and you focus more on wards, you can block out a lot of that brambles damage and really just grind them out in that early game. Although the late game does become a little trickier because you are dealing now with a board that is probably going to be substantially harder to get rid of, with things like Beauty and the Beast in neutral forest and even wolves and stuff in the late game of Gilgamesh Forest. So not too surprising. We do have the Magical Lion. I think comboing the Magical Lion with the Soldier next turn and being able to draw that would be really effective. Then using Biofabrication and Acceleration to really push this board quite hard quite early. Probably going to be quite solid.
Weapons, got you covered.
So we get our draw, Analyzing Artifact. Analyzing Artifact is great for controlling your Resonance. I think that's probably the best card in the deck for controlling Resonance. And of course, Airbound Barrage, great way to deal with my crap. A little bit annoying for me. But I'm going to get a pretty good trade here. And a nice setup turn. See, Entity is pretty useless in a Forest matchup. It's only really good at blocking Elephant, and that's pretty much it. Which I haven't seen enough elements, jeez, to warrant Entity and Dragon and stuff just aren't as common. And the dragons that are more common really aren't that big on the Entity play now. So we double up on Analyzing Artifacts just to get a little bit more value.
This song's for you.
Still don't have Des, which is, at this stage is still pretty fine. We've got enough draw power that we can kind of start pushing our deck a little harder and playing the board a little bit more. Insect Lord, ugh.
The march goes on.
He always feels gross when I see him played. Like, geez guys, come on. Insect Lord of all cards. So we get a free trade, free draw. What do we got? Hamlin, that's actually pretty reasonable. You can use Hamlin to boost ancient artifacts, which is really, really good. Or actually boost Swordsman, because Swordsman produce more artifacts. So, yeah, both are pretty good options to go with.
You're an intruder.
Of course, we come up against the 4-6. That's always how my life goes. Now I do feel like I need to push out another ancient artifact, so that's where something like Soldier will come in and hopefully pull us an ancient. And we get it. Perfect. So we get to clear that, play what we want for this turn, and get some nice damage to their face. Quite an easy setup with this Portal. Of course, like I said, Entity is pretty much a dead card at this stage. I would definitely consider it playing if I saw a Wolf dropped, because then Entity obviously will block out the Elephant combos. And then we can start warding. Perfect. Against Forest, warding is pretty great. Even better when I can just go for damage to their face.
Oh, come on!
So from here, Forest is going to have a hard time coming back. They need a full board clear or a way to really stuff me up, and that probably isn't it.
It won't be long now.
Even with this evolve here, I don't think it's going to be enough just to really hold out for a couple turns. It's going to be very close. And we get another ward. And they concede anyway, but pretty solid, I think. Being able to just work this board even without does, that's pretty much what you want. And following up from our forest matchup, we have a dragon. As I mentioned before, dragon may not be the most common, but it's still a pretty good matchup with this deck.
This one's for my family.
The one deck that you're pretty much going to get rolled over by is Daria. Daria's tempo just can't be kept up with Portal. Portal doesn't have the cards to effectively remove large boards and large health in the early game, so it's really got a weak point there. Although it does deal quite well with other aggro decks, mostly for the fact that aggro decks tend to use low health, and we have plenty of removal for low health followers. So Hamlin again, this time we're going for the Iron Staff mechanic. I like to play a little more of a control-y game against Dragon, especially with this deck with Entity. Being able to throw the Iron Staff down twice and flood out deck with draw artifacts is always good. Especially if we haven't drawn anything else, and in the early game, throwing down wards against Dragon really can block out a lot of potential damage. Nan going for the heal and the draw, not really making too much of a difference for them. Substitution is perfect, removing that 1-2, getting rid of their potential draw, and allowing us to deal 6 damage right to their face this turn. Plus the use of a puppet will come in very handy later on.
This song's for you.
For making things more manageable. Dragoon Scyther, always a pain in my ass, I swear to God.
It broke.
So they finally clear out the entire board, but Spinaria plus this puppet is going to clean up this 1-2 quite nicely.
Awaken.
Sometimes when Spinaria works, it can be absolutely crazy, especially if it's not dealt with very quickly.
Did you wake it?
It can definitely present a difficulty for the opponent to deal with. Turn 8 and Dragon plays nothing. That's a sign that a Dragon really has run out of options at this point. I can throw out another ward. Everything is currently at 3 health, and if I evolve this 1-1, everything except for Spinaria should be out of range of a AoE effect. So that's actually awesome, unless they are playing AoE Dragon, in which case I'm kind of screwed. But luckily for me, they weren't, and they end up conceding, so that's great. And last but not least, another Forest matchup. So Forest, as I mentioned before, is becoming quite popular. The only issue is I'm not sure what kind of variant is the more popular. I've seen a pretty good range of different kinds of Forest decks, where some are more control orientated, some are more OTK orientated, some are aggressive, and really that's the main three. They're just a little bit of variety in the actual decks themselves, so it's very interesting. This hand, pretty much perfect. Double Magsteel Lion, Icarus, and Dez, all in your initial starting hand, is probably one of the best you could ask for. Another World Rift makes it just that much better, gives us a way to control our resonance and set up against our opponent. But this Portal deck, surprisingly, still doing quite well. I'm very, very happy with how it's gone so far. 5 games, won 3, only lost mainly because the opponent had bloody crazy aggro draws, which is pretty impressive. So this is the Bramble situation that I usually hate quite a lot. Dealing with Brambles is such pain, especially when they're using Airbound Barrage. It allows them to deal with pretty much everything they could possibly need to. Do want to plan out a Resonance a little bit. I mean, making sure we're in Resonance on 6 and cleared the opponent's board is going to be very important. Luckily for us, double Icarus is really going to help. Because we're currently in Resonance, which means turn 5 we're out of Resonance. With Icarus and an Analyzing Artifact, we should be able to go back into Resonance on turn 6, basically for free. And we'll see how our opponent decides to go for trades this turn.
You're done for.
Looks like they're going for the Water Fairy Evolve.
Bad people are
Most
evil.
likely killing that Icarus so they can't use its Evolve effect. And sending 2 to face. Okay, not quite where I expected him to go with that, but I think I can handle it.
I'm a genius.
So Icarus on the Evolve would be pretty good. Analyzing Artifact as well. I mean, if we evolve Icarus, we go into Resonance. Analyzing takes us out of Resonance next turn. Sorry, next turn we're out of Resonance, so Analyzing puts us in Resonance. And these trades work out quite nicely. Because if they trade with the Analyzing, I'm in Resonance next turn. If they don't trade with the Analyzing, I can trade it in myself. Although that Iguana is going to be quite annoying.
So sparkly.
And they decided to go face for 3 damage. Ugh.
Yo,
That feels bad.
totally burns.
So, I decided to go for the trade, get my draw off, go for the Does and Evolve. We'll clear this 3-3 really easily. No real issue at all with dealing with that.
This machine-driven world must end.
And since we're in Resonance, we get a whole new hand, which I think is exactly what we needed against Forest here. This is one of probably the few games where you actually get to see how good Spinaria can be when it's set up properly, and when it's harder for it to be dealt with, especially in a Forest matchup where things are quite low on health. So Entity, pretty much perfect there. I mean, blocking out any large amounts of damage like that 6-4.
Keep me company.
Although by playing Entity, I also kind of board locked myself, which probably not the right thing to do. If I hadn't have played Entity, I could have dropped all these artifacts with Spinaria here, and killed that 6-4 really easily. Instead, I opened myself up to 3 damage, which, I mean, isn't the worst option. Definitely isn't the best.
Will you be good to me?
So they could kill the 2-5 here. They do just decide to go face for 3. Guess going for the more aggressive play is what they wanted to prioritize.
You'll like me after this.
Not sure what the real aim here was, I guess just to clear something. Even though they could have cleared the 2-5 as well, I really question what these players were thinking going like this. Especially now that I have a pretty solid option. While I can't ram the 3-1, I can very easily ram the 2-5, sorry, which now allows me to actually clear this board with just pings alone.
Sorry.
Although I did forget to attack, which was a huge mistake. I should have sent the 4 damage to the face first. Was a little bit of an error, honestly. Sometimes when you're trying to plan out a move and you're running low on time, which I think was the case for that turn, really makes it awkward to try and think of how should I deal with things. So a very easy banish removal. Set up a ward, really just to block out any excess damage. The pings again will clear this 1-2, so not too worried about that at all. And I do decide to send the trade anyway. I'm mainly looking for a decent draw. And we get a couple pings.
They're picking on me.
So with our current board, we can deal a good amount of damage. It's going to be a little difficult for them to remove everything here. At least in an effective manner.
Hey, let's play.
What do we see? Fairies, Goblin,
May the forest
Fairy
be at
Whisper.
peace.
Nothing really threatening on their board. Biofabrication works out pretty nicely. I would need to get out of Resonance to use it, but
Come on.
the question then becomes, do I stay in Resonance? Do I get out of Resonance? Which option do I go with more often? And with that, I do decide to go into Resonance again, just because I can throw all those Mystics into my deck. And there wasn't much else in my hand that would be useful this turn.
I'm gonna
Plus, with what I've got now, Beast should pretty much be lethal if they clear this. And if they don't, they lose anyway. So I think this is one of the few times Entity's probably saved me. I mean, I'm not sure what kind of forest deck they were aiming to be, and a couple of mistakes really did help me out, but my own mistakes also, you know, would have basically had me game already. So I think both sides made some mistakes, but overall, I think I have enough to pretty much win the game straight there. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Portalcraft is still one of my favorite decks. If you did, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. You'll find the deck list in the description below, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.